Hello and welcome to another episode of the Dustin and Eric podcast show brought to you by Mimosa Networks. Hi, I'm Dustin.
I'm Eric.
And today we're on episode number 23, the ins and outs of Agc. We'll be discussing what Agc is and how it works. This is another episode in the Help Us Help You podcast series.
Help us help you.
So special guest today is, it's Doug today,
Hey,
the imaginary friend.
You know what? I got a call. Doug couldn't make it today.
Oh, so we have no special guest today.
He says sorry though.
He's too busy at Fullerton McDonald's.
He called in from the Fullerton.
I see.
He called collect too.
All right, so let's go ahead and move on then to today's main course since it's just you and me.
Doug.
The ins and outs of Agc. So what is Agc? Well, Agc is automatic gain control, and it limits receive sensitivity to squelch out noise. So signals below a threshold value are effectively ignored. So this is where interference tuning comes in. So if you log into your A5 or A5C radio, you go to the channel and power page, you should see an option there that says Agc mode. By default, your mode is in auto, so it does the tuning for you. You can also go to manual mode and tune Agc on your own. So Agc, manual Agc, will allow you to statically set the minimum receive power. So you want to select the power level below your expected signal, but above the interference. Agc is not effective below...
Say 80, say 75.
Yes,
75
dBm.
I think that's the number. Is that right?
That is. So
right.
Networks should be designed such that all client signals are well above that level.
All right.
So what is a signal level that customers should shoot for, Eric?
I'd say probably around neg 65, I find, is a good...
Would be the lowest signal that you should go?
And that's typically 20, 25 dB above the noise floor that you'll see in the spectrum.
Right. So
comfortable.
Depending on your interference level, so if you had a noise floor of neg 70, you'd probably want neg 50 or better, right?
That would be fantastic.
But of course,
max performance at that
Agc
point.
will help you improve your phi rates with squelching out noise. So if you're watching from home, the next few slides actually kind of shows you automatic gain control in effect. So for those that are listening, we have an example of 3 clients here, one at neg 75, one at neg 70, and one at neg 65. By default, receivers amplify all incoming signals, including noise.
That's right. Yeah.
Agc acts to squelch control, reducing receiver gain until noise is negligible and only the desired signals are present. The ideal client signal strength would be between neg 40 and neg 65, like Eric stated earlier. And the goal would be to have all clients at, around that signal level. Of course, some clients may be lower based on the number of installation factors, trees, interference,
obstructions,
other types of interference.
nearby co-channel. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
But the client with the lowest signal strength defines the threshold value. So again, like Eric just stated earlier, the minimum number is neg 75. So anything below that, it cannot effectively reduce the effective interference like it can with clients at higher signal strengths. So if you set your Agc too low, it's not going to do anything for you. It's not tuning any noise out at all. So effectively, you have it turned off. If you set your Agc threshold too high, it may exclude weaker client signals. So earlier, again, we had a neg 75 client, a neg 70, and a neg 65 client. If you set your Agc at neg 75, your third client isn't going to be able to hear the AP, so it's effectively removed from the access point. You can't reconnect.
He's been squelched out, so to speak. Yep.
Right. So clients number 1 and 2 are fine. Client 3, not so much. So you want to try and set your Agc 5 dB lower than your lowest client. So if your lowest client is at neg 65, setting your Agc value around neg 70 should be what you're aiming for. So what is that 5 dB for, Eric?
Actually, you can go in dB increments too. You can go try 3 dB, see if you can capture client 3. Go 4, 5, 6, and bring it down. And your question is?
So what is that 5 dB for?
Yeah, that's a little threshold window between minimum of where you will squelch out anybody that's below that figure, and folks that are above it. So
Why shouldn't I set that 1 dB lower instead?
yeah, you probably, because of path changes in the path, you may or may not. If that guy's hovering around neg 75, maybe 75 and a half, neg 76, and you've got that guy that the AGC set at 75, he's going to drop out and come in. You're going to lose the link. It's going to come up and go down, come up and.
So it's effectively a buffer between the AGC and the last
Yeah,
client.
it's kind of, like I mentioned, it's like a kind of the squelch. If you've got an FM two-way radio. We set the squelch just to get rid of all that. If you open the squelch, you get max noise. You get all the static in the speaker, let's say.
Right. So it's
And
like
if we bring that squelch up to just to the threshold where we can go from to cut it out. Then we're just listening to usable signals or audio, or in this case, usable client capture.
So it's like a CB radio where you have the squelch knob and you
Yeah.
you
So
go from
yeah.
all the way to just a
You
few
get rid of
people.
all the unwanted, unusable information or noise.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So what happens when I try to connect a client with a lower signal level than the AGC setting, Eric?
Yeah, you might not be able to see them. So there is a setting on the access point that allows us to temporarily turn off the AGC at AGC point.
Right. So this is called Client Association Assist. It's located on the channel and power page in your A5 or A5C. If you turn this on, it's on for 24 hours unless you turn it back off. So this will let you connect weaker clients, but
Or turn on, or that means disable the AP, the threshold, and the AGC, and the
right. So it's going to disable
It's
AGC.
going to disable that, so you're going to then have access to this option. Yeah,
Right.
Right.
So unfortunately, that means that you're turning off all of your interference mitigation for the next 24 hours if you actually turn Client Association Assist on.
Right. So you've got your AGC threshold here. You've got your 2 dozen, 3 dozen, 4 dozen clients in here in this range, let's say, and then we go to here and it disable the AGC. Now we've gone from that negative 75 figure down to here, and now we're looking at all this noise in here.
Right.
Now we got a lot of nasty, we got air, all kinds of stuff.
So your weak client will associate, but it'll negatively impact
hopefully.
all of your other clients as well,
Right.
because you don't have that interference mitigation anymore. So you'll see fire rates drop, you'll see data rates drop. You might even see clients drop depending on the interference level you're operating in at the moment. So it's a double-edged sword for customers. So if your client isn't associating at a certain signal level, you should probably look at either increasing the gain or moving it to a different access point where it'll have a higher signal level instead of turning this off and trying to associate it to an AP it can't see well.
Yeah, so if client 3 is way down there and the noise is down in the noise a little bit, and you can't physically get access to maybe aim client 3 from that point,
right?
You can try this as a rescue. Let's find client 3. We know he's out there.
So
right?
you can turn it on, but turn it back off as soon as you're done.
And isn't there an hours thing that if you forget to turn on your AGC at the access point, what's the deal? 24 hours.
24 hours.
Okay.
So. All right, guys. If you need more information, you can go to help.mimosa.co, click on Access Point, and you can look at SRS tuning-AGC. It has a 4-minute video on more information for tuning your AGC as well. So you can also come to chat. You can ask us for help as well. But other than that, I think that's the end of this show this week. So. Next week will be episode 24. So
maybe Doug will show up.
Maybe Doug will show up.
Or his friend Henry.
Or Henry.
Yep.
What's Henry's last name?
Okan.
What's Doug's last name?
He never gave it to us.
I see.
We don't want to know either, probably.
All right. Well, tune in next week to see if Henry or Doug show up to the show. So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time on the next Dustin and Eric podcast show. Thanks for tuning in. Please hit the subscribe or follow button to stay up to date with our latest podcast, which will be available on YouTube, iTunes, Google Play, and SoundCloud.